Hey guys, just going to show you how to do a service on your B2601 Kubota. Should be very similar for the B2301. These tractors have been out for a couple of years now, so there's getting to be quite a few of them out there, and if you don't want to go back to the dealer, you can save yourself some money by doing it yourself. So anyways, what you're going to do, get your tractor warm up the engine. The reason you do that is you want the contaminants in the oil to become suspended in the oil itself. That way you don't end up with sludge in the bottom of the oil pan. So once you get it nice and warm, shut it off. Take the key out of the ignition just so you're not tempted to start it in case you want to move it for whatever reason and there's no oil in it. Before you do anything, make sure you can get the hood open. You don't want to drain the oil and find out you can't get the hood open. That applies to pretty well anything, obviously, but it's just something that I've gotten to do over the years. So the oil cap is right there. To close the hood, all you have to do is lift up on it a bit and pull that rod up and then let it down. So yeah, just make sure you pull the oil cap off and set it somewhere that you'll see it so that you remember to put oil back in. These hold 3.5 liters of 10W30 diesel oil. I got mine right from Kubota. It's new enough, it's under warranty. I don't want any problems down the road if I cheap out on oil. It isn't expensive. It's I think $28 a jug Canadian. For 5 liters, and after 3 oil changes you'll have enough to do another oil change because it's 5 liters. So, and this jug has a nice little pouring spout on it. It's pretty handy. So yeah. So next you're going to pull out the drain plugs, and on this tractor there are 2 of them. You're gonna pull out that one on the right side, and on the same kind of idea here on the left side you're going to pull that one out. The reason there are 2 is this drive shaft runs through the pan kind of. It doesn't run through it, but the pan humps up over it. So don't forget to pull out both drain plugs. It's pretty easy to do. Anyways, when you go to put them back in, don't tighten the hell out of them. Just make sure they're tight. There's a copper washer on there that'll seal. Make sure that they're sealed once you've got the oil back in. After quite a few oil changes, sometimes they will start to not leak, but they'll seep a wee bit. The idea is with the copper that it has some squish to it. So anyways, to get access to your oil filter, on the left side of the tractor, just lift up and pull forward on this plastic panel, and you can see the oil filter there. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, spin it off. It's kind of in a crappy spot because this rad hose is smushed between the bracket that keeps it away from the fan belt and the filter. So take your filter off, make sure that the O-ring or gasket comes off with the filter. If not, pry it off the engine. You don't want to have another gasket stuck on there when you spin your new filter on. So to get the filter started, you can kind of push up and to the left a bit. You can use your thumb to push the rad hose over. It's kind of a pain to get started, but if you push up and to the left, it'll go on there. Just be careful you don't cross thread it. So once you get the filter tightened down, once the gasket contacts, turn it another 1/2 to 3/4 of a turn, just by hand. You don't want to over tighten these. And then once you have the oil back in and you run it, just make sure that the filter's dry. You don't want to have an oil leak around that. So while you're here, just check the tension on your fan belt. It's hard to see, but it should have about 1/4 of an inch deflection, 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. Just check it for cracks and glazing. These tractors are new enough, you likely won't have to replace it yet, but you should look at it anyways. There is a screen in front of the rad you can pull out and clean. Just blow it out with air, put it back in, make sure it's in there because that'll keep all the crap out of your rad. So you can check your air filter, bang it out on the ground, make sure no dust or crap gets in the part that sucks into the engine. All you do is flip these little clips, cap, this end comes off, not a big deal. While you're here, you can check the front axle oil level. This just pulls straight out. There's like a little machined notch in the stick. The oil level should be in between there. So it's a good idea just to put a little oil on that O-ring so that it doesn't get stuck in there. I'm just gonna grab a light here. While you're draining the oil too, you might as well grease it. There's a grease fitting right there on the brake shaft. You can grease that, just a couple of pumps is enough. My tractor has a snowblower on the front of it, so you can grease the drive line. In each of the U-joints there is a grease fitting. The easiest way to grease them, I've found on this particular tractor, is you just pull that coupler right off the rear diff. You just pull the coupler forward and the shaft will come right out. It's simple. There are some hidden grease fittings. They're not hidden, but they're kind of hard to get at. So there's also the one on the slip yoke right there. Make sure you grease it. That will help the shaft slide forward when you're unhooking it. There are 2 pillow block bearings right here. They have little green caps on them. It's kind of hard to see in here, but there's another one further back. And then same idea, there's a coupler there. You can just pull it forward, pull the shaft off, and grease those 2 U-joints. The easiest way to grease this one at the very front is to just pull this cover right off. There's 2 17mm bolts right there. Pull it off, grease it. Just a couple pumps of I use an all climate grease because it is a snowblower. You want it to be nice and fluid in the winter. So Valvoline all climate is what I've always used. There's a bearing down in there on the blower. Grease that, a few pumps. On each side of the blower there's a bearing. Grease it. There's a grease fitting on the auger right there. And the other one's spun upside down, but it's in there somewhere. Again, another grease fitting right there. And then you're gonna want to grease the other side of the brake shaft. Pretty sure there's a grease fitting under here. Maybe not. There was on my old Kubota. I'm wrong, there isn't. There's a hydrostatic filter there. If you're, I think the first one is at 100 hours that you change. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think it's pretty early. I'm not at that point yet, so it's still the original one. There's also a grease fitting on your top link of your 3-point hitch right there. And on the adjusting link right here. just a couple pumps. You don't want grease all over the place. You'll be getting it all over yourself when you're hooking something on. The hydrostatic fluid level is right there. Just make sure it's in between the lines, closer to the top line the better. And yeah, just kind of go around it, check your tire pressures. The pressures are in your manual. It's pretty easy to overlook something like that. If you're in a cold climate, check the freezing point of your antifreeze. Make sure that it's good enough for where you live. And yeah, put your drain plugs in, put your oil in it, and put your cap on. Start it, check for leaks, and yeah, make sure your oil level is where it should be when you shut it off, and you're pretty well done. What I always do is write on the oil filter how many hours when you did it. That way you remember if you forget to write it in your book, or you can put a piece of masking tape somewhere or do whatever you want, but if you write it on the filter, it's usually there the next year when you go to do it, or the next time. That's been over a year and it's still easy to read, so yeah, that's pretty much it. One thing I'm going to mention, just in case you don't see another one of my videos, is these tractors, when they come from the factory, the exhaust points forward more or less, and it blows soot and crap all over the snowblower. I just cleaned this, but it's normally black on this side. So what I did was I just have a little elbow of exhaust pipe, and I just put 2 little sheet metal screws in it to hold it on, and that helps to direct the exhaust out a bit more. The reason I didn't weld it on is this thing's still under warranty. Again, I don't want any problems from Kubota if there is an issue with it and they deny a claim, so just be careful how many modifications you do to your new tractor. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The pipe is 1 5/16", or real close to 1 3/8". I did set it up here so you can see it. It's probably 1 5/16", but 1 3/8 would be a sure fit. So anyways, hope this helps you. If it did, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Thanks.